That was the cutest person on the planet that can walk upright on two legs. That was Miss Ellie. My granddaughter. That's the one person on the face of the planet that calls me Papaw. And I love that.
This is a conversation that Stephen and I have. We ask each other questions, and the only rule to this is that you have to answer the question that you ask.
Yes. And these questions, usually, somewhere along the line, they bring us a lot of joy.
They do,
right?
Actually, yes.
Okay. All right, good.
Okay, so there's a new thing kind of happening nowadays where you go to a sandwich shop.
And we all know that I'm way up on all the new things.
On all the new,
so please
it's a sandwich
ask.
shop. I know you're up
Well,
on
I am
sandwich
up on
shops.
most things sandwiches.
And they have this thing where you pay and they turn it around to you and they literally hand your sandwich to you over the counter and they want a tip. Do you tip? In that situation, now I agree. They bring the food to you. They give you but I mean, my son works at a sandwich shop. He literally, yes, he makes the sandwich or somebody does. They hand it over to the person and they give them a tip.
Okay, I have two insights to me.
Okay.
That are going to require some explanation. Number one, is the person handing me my sandwich the same person that took money from me?
They have it in a bag.
Okay.
So there could be two
people. I can understand that.
Yeah, they're not touching your money and actually holding your sandwich at the same time.
Because I probably would never visit that sandwich shop.
You have issues with germs on money.
I'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to deposit this in the circular container at the door and never see you again. And that's why you didn't get a tip.
It's very sanitary.
Okay. All right. And multiple people are involved in the process of making the sandwich for me.
That's correct.
Yes, I do tip.
Oh.
But it's minimally. And what I mean by that is it's if there's a server situation, even if I'm just having a sandwich at a sit-down restaurant, but a server has been involved in bringing my food and getting my order correct versus me telling you, no, don't use those pickles. They don't look good anymore. I think I round up to maybe the nearest whole next dollar.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, it's not a lot because I'm thinking to myself, look, you were already just kind of standing here when I got here.
Correct.
And so I do tip. And one of the things that that might surprise some people, I still tip my barber.
Oh.
I think it's an expression of, you know what? You always take care of me. And what you do for me is an expression of me and you.
Okay.
And so I feel like I'm obligated there to tip.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. But sandwiches, they're so fleeting.
Yes. That you eat them and they're gone.
They're gone. I remember.
My hair is here forever,
exactly.
hopefully.
My hair's a lot longer. It's an investment is what I'm saying. Sandwiches, they come and go until the next sandwich.
That's
and you
right.
forget about them.
Exactly. I do not.
Not at all?
I don't like to,
Well,
no.
wait a second. Your son works at a sandwich shop.
Yeah, and he comes home and tells me that people had given him a $10 tip last night. I'm like, what did you do? I rang her up and I handed her sandwich. I was like, for $10, you spent more in the tip than you actually did on the sandwich.
Oh yeah, that's
so.
a good
Okay, first
insight.
off, I want to say there are very generous people. I am just clearly not one of them because I'm like, unless you actually,
you're not generous that way. You are very generous
in other ways, but I'm like, you really didn't do anything. Okay, you actually prepared the food and handed it to me. You didn't do anything, and so
you didn't slice the meat.
No.
You didn't wrangle the cow for my roast beef.
You didn't I don't know, pull a bunch of mayonnaise out of a bit. Yeah,
exactly.
So I really don't like
pastrami.
that.
There's a lot of stuff
There's
going
a lot
on.
of stuff. I just don't like that. I don't like it. And
You
so I don't do it.
You don't like it that other people do it.
No, I don't like it that they ask me.
Oh, you don't like to be asked for a tip.
No. If someone is super nice and I'm like, Jesus says, give them extra money, I give them extra money.
Oh, yeah.
But if they turn that screen around and it's I'm like,
yeah, we've already talked about
No.
how somebody asked for something in a parking lot. I think it was an Aldi's parking lot. Didn't we talk about this?
We did actually, yes. Yeah.
And you were incredibly generous.
Right.
I won't throw you under the bus. And I mean, it was a large single bill.
Yes, it was.
And it was surprising. And I
Yeah.
think it surprised you too, but
It
you were
did.
very obedient.
That's
So
exactly right.
You're very generous. In fact, way more when the situation calls for it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this is not that.
It is not one of those.
situation.
I think it's because like I never have worked in a situation where I've been
Okay.
tipped. I've just never done that.
Okay.
But also like you're literally doing your job. So it's like me walking into the station and you going, Heather, good job. Here's $5. And I'd be like, what is this for? You showed up to work today. Here's $5.
Wow. I think maybe it's the idea that they're forcing you to tip on that screen. It's like
Yeah.
they're in your face over it.
I think that is part of it.
See, and I think if it's subtle, like I slide you the receipt and there's a little space for a tip, and it's $11.69, you'll round up to 13. You maybe you won't even fill in the tip part for like the math.
I don't know about that.
No?
I don't know. Like I still go. It is about in my face, but I think it's do your job. You're getting paid an hourly rate to do your job. You actually just handed me the sandwich. Like you didn't say, "Can I get you some water? How is that?"
Yeah.
You didn't check on me and ask me
Yeah.
how I was, and we didn't have like a conversation.
Yeah.
Like you literally just handed me the sandwich. So,
Yeah.
but
Now I'll tell you a brief story. A couple weeks ago, I was at a local hamburger joint, well
Okay.
known through the Midwest, using very cheddary and putting them on burgers. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
I
Very
hope this
well-
is good because I like that place.
It
actually,
is an excellent story.
Okay.
So I walk in and I'm kind of looking, and because of my dietary concerns that have popped up recently, not eating a lot of red meat.
Right.
And so I'm in a hamburger joint,
Oh, it's so bad.
one of my favorite hamburger joints on the planet. And I can't order red meat. So I look at the gals. There's two of them standing kind of in a row, but one of them is operating their cash register. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, so what's good besides these cheesy, buttery burgers? And she looked at me deadpan, seriously. She's like, I don't know. That's all I ever eat here.
Oh, and
And I
you're
was
like, me too.
Well, yeah, until I can't. And then what do I do? You're telling me to stop being a customer? That's not going to happen.
No.
And so the young lady behind her kind of steps forward a little bit. She goes, can you eat pork? I'm like, yes, actually, that's a wonderful alternative. She goes, you would love our pork loin sandwich? She goes, do you like a good, like an Indiana tenderloin pork loin sandwich? And I was like, I love them.
Yeah.
Having been, 26 years in Indiana.
Right.
You don't live there for 26 years and not enjoy
A pork
good
loin.
pork loin sandwich.
Right.
So I said, yeah, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what do you want on it? And I was like, whatever you tell her to put on it, literally. And so she's like
Wow.
leaning over, tapping buttons and telling her what she's putting on this sandwich.
Amazing.
I eat the sandwich. It's phenomenal. It's one of the best sandwiches I've ever had, let alone one of the best tenderloin sandwiches I've ever had. I mean, it's like class breaking.
Wow.
Like that's how good the sandwich is.
Wow.
So I enjoy that. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I wonder how weird it would be if I go up and slip her $5 and go, thank you for actually one of the best sandwiches I've ever had, let alone
Right.
surprising me with your insight and the toppings
right.
and the things she suggested. I think the Lord was kind of like talking to me at that moment, because out of the corner of my eye, she's coming around collecting the trays. And she comes direct after she sees me. She's kind of walking at me now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, this is supposed to happen. So I pull $5 out. I'm not wealthy, but $5.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, you know what? This is for you. And she's like, what? What for? I said, because you had an opinion, and your opinion was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was insightful, and you were willing to help a customer. So all that stuff wrapped up into one, plus
Yes.
it was a wonderful sandwich.
Right.
I go, well, it was definitely worth
For
$5.
sure. Now, see, I agree
So
with
would
that.
you have tipped there?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
See, that's to me, those are the moments where you go, yeah, this is extra.
it for sure.
Now,
yeah.
if she had just been like, yeah, you need a cheeseburger if you don't get out.
You'd be
well,
like,
nobody's
that's-
getting a tip then.
Nobody's getting my business, period.
Exactly.
Right.
But she
yeah.
went above and beyond.
Yeah,
so
that,
there's
I agree.
the $5.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So you have the next question. This one's a little strange, but I'll tell you why I ask it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the question, as I compose it in my brain, sounds like, do you do anything that in your head makes perfect sense, but if somebody else were to observe it, they'd be like, what? What does she do that for? Now, I'll give you a second to think.
Yeah.
So I'll fill in some of the space, but only half listen. Okay.
Because we know you can't multitask.
Well, I can't, so I know you can. So separate those channels out and start listening and thinking at the
Yeah.
same time. When I was a kid, I used to stir my soda pop. I told you an episode or 2 episodes ago that I prefer flat soda.
Yes,
I
that's
admitted
correct.
that.
Yes, for sure.
Well, that came from a childhood experience, and I would stir my soda to get rid of the carbonation.
Okay.
The reason for that was the carbonation would give me hiccups.
Okay.
The hiccups would eventually lead me to literally getting sick.
Oh.
And so I never wanted to get hiccups. I mean, the
Right.
hiccups were so violent, I would literally get sick.
Right.
And so I would always stir my soda.
Mm-hmm.
And it became kind of a running gag with my family until one night we went out to this really elegant in Chicago Chinese food restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of Chinese food at that time. I am now, but wasn't then. And I get my straw out when they bring me my beverage of choice. I don't know what it was. It was brown and it was bubbly. So I start stirring it. My dad gets a little irritated. What are you doing? Put that spoon away. You're going to embarrass all of us. What do you think you're doing? And I'm like, no, Dad, because I'm like 10.
Right.
And I'm like, Dad, I have to stir this. He's like, no, you don't. Put your spoon away. And so I like start to stir one, and he was like, you stir that one more time, you're going out to the car. And I was like, oh, he's serious. So I take the spoon out. I drink my drink along with my food.
Okay.
Before we're all done, because we all know we're all like foreshadowing into this,
Right.
I get the hiccups.
Oh.
And yeah, I get sick all over this tablecloth. So, of course, the meal's over at that point. Because, ding, ding, meal's over. Because, let's wrap this up. We're done. We're out of here.
Oh.
So, and then years later, I told my dad this story, which is funny. And he looks me dead in the eye and he's like, that never happened. I was like, what? You crazy old man. Yes, it did. This is why I still like flat soda to this day.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Right.
And so, long story to say, it's a weird thing for me to do.
That is true, yeah.
But in my own head, in my own life, in my experiences, I kind of have to do it.
Right.
So whereas some people would look at that and go, that's just odd. If I take the time to explain it, people go, totally see your point. I'm having a meal with you. Go right ahead. I'll shake that soda for you if you want me to. So the outcome becomes, it seems normal.
Right.
Okay, so you've been thinking for a moment.
Yeah. So the only thing I can think of is, because my mom was a single mom, my parents divorced when I was 6.
Gotcha.
She would let me, because I was the youngest, be in her room and watch TV with her.
Okay.
And she would fall asleep.
Okay.
And in turn, then I would watch something, but then I would fall asleep.
Okay.
And so if I'm not feeling well, or if I'm my brain is not functioning well, I turn on the TV, and usually I'll watch something and this is funny, golf, because it's super boring. Or I've just found something recently, and actually
better than golf.
I know, exactly. So I'm a big Survivor fan. You might not know that about me. And there is a channel on Paramount Plus that plays Survivor back to back to back to back. And I've seen all the seasons. Okay.
Wow.
So I pick up a season somewhere and I watch an episode and I fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, we're at the finale. Awesome. I know who wins this one. But
Great. I didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything. No, you can watch all the seasons on demand, but this is a channel.
Wow.
And so,
do they randomize them? Are they just from random seasons?
No, it's in order.
Oh, it's in order.
So you watch season 1 all the way through 45 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so I think falling asleep to the television, and it's actually a comfort.
Yeah, I see that.
I can do it without. I do white noise, but funny thing, I married a man who's a night owl.
Yeah.
So he watches TV. I mean, has watched knockdown, drag out action movies, and I don't hear a thing. Because
laying there right next to him.
Right, comforting to me to hear the noise. So I think that's weird. I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's interesting. The story that made me kind of think about this was I was thinking about a gentleman I used to work with, and I was eating an apple the other day. And so there's this moment I'm eating this apple and I crunch into it and I realize it's so crunchy I've actually gotten part of the core off into my mouth.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, well, as long as I don't bite down on a seed, I'm not thinking this is a big deal. Chew through some of it and swallow it right away. And then I'm taken back 10 or 15 years to Jim.
Okay, Jim.
Jim was this person in my life who ate an entire apple.
The core and the seeds and...
Core, seeds, skin, peel, the whole thing. The only thing he would leave is the stem. And he and I knew each other well enough to where we had several meals together, lunches, and he usually had an apple with him for lunch. And so for the longest time, I just thought, you know what, I'm not going there. I'm not going to go there and ask him until he did it again. And I was like, okay, Jim, you gotta give me some insight into this.
Yeah.
So this was that from the outside looking in.
Right.
That's the weird part. I go,
right.
okay, this is odd.
Right.
Gives me a great explanation.
Okay.
Jim was significantly older than me at the time and had served on a PT boat in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And in the United States Army, when they gave you an apple, they expected you to eat all of it. And here's the reason why. Apple seeds have small trace amounts of cyanide on them.
Well, I was going to say that.
And so what the United States Army recommended was that if you were ever captured and forced to take cyanide for poison, it wouldn't affect you if you had built up a tolerance.
Oh, my.
So for decades, I mean, we're talking, he was out in 77 from the United States Army. And from 77 to the point I knew him in the early 90s.
Oh, my.
He was still consuming an entire apple. And it makes perfect. I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Totally
it makes
sense.
But it's the weirdest thing on the planet to do. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when he tells you, you're like, wow, okay. I don't know if that works. I don't know if you can build up a tolerance.
Because see, that's what I was going to say. We didn't eat the cores because of the seeds and that. That's why people
so you
be
didn't
like,
intentionally eat the seeds?
For sure. People were like, don't eat the core. It can hurt you.
Oh. Like
clearly not, because Jim's been doing it for years.
For decades.
I mean
and when I hear something like that, it's almost like the urban legend of, oh, you swallowed a sleep. Now you're going to grow a watermelon. Right. That's what I thought we were. That's where I thought we were going to go with that.
No, it was.
And
it could hurt
not.
you.
It could actually hurt
that's
you.
That's what we were told in Michigan growing up.
Interesting. See, so that was the whole circular,
weird
thing to do, but with good reason behind
For sure.
it. And so if you and I are at a meal and you see me pick up a spoon,
I'll know why.
That's right. You don't want me to finish the meal any other way.
No, sir, I do not.
Because it will be over one word.
I don't want to forget about it either. I won't forget about it, actually. This has been Sippin Tea with Heather and Steven. If you would like us to answer a question, just email me, heather@shine.fm.